Hi everyone! My name is Kaylani and I'm going to be your educator for this virtual Stormwater series. This is a 3-lesson program, so I encourage you to watch these videos with another person that you can share ideas with. It could be a family member, a sibling, a friend, or even a pet. If it's just you, that's okay too. There will be other opportunities for you to share your ideas with others throughout the program. In this first lesson, we'll be thinking about how all the rain that we get moves through our neighborhoods. In lesson 2, we'll be spending some more time thinking about how that rain impacts people and animals in our ecosystems. And lastly, in lesson 3, we'll be using engineering to start solving some problems related to rain that you might see in your neighborhood. For this lesson, you will need a piece of paper or something to write on and something to write with. So let's get started. With the person next to you, or maybe that's your pet, think about what is something that you have noticed when it rains a lot where you live. In our lesson today, we'll be spending much of our time thinking about what happens when it rains where you live. Wherever you are, the land and waters we all live on and play in here in Washington have been home to Native Americans for thousands of years, from time immemorial to today. As European settlers started to move into the area and building cities as we know them today, they changed the land as it was before. Here's an example of some of that change. This is a map of the Seattle area. In this map, you can see what the Duwamish River looked like before the early 1800s. Notice how much green there is and how curvy the river is. This is what the land looked like since time immemorial for the Duwamish people. We moved through the 1800s. European settlers moved in and removed many trees to begin building the city of Seattle as we know it today. Much of those forests we saw is now gone, replaced by hard surfaces like roads and sidewalks. The river was even straightened to make it easier for large boats to travel on. So what happens when we take away all of those forests and grass and replace it with hard surfaces like concrete and roads? Let's try using our imagination for a bit, and I invite you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable. But picture yourself in a place surrounded by trees. Maybe there's a park near where you live, or another place that you're familiar with that has lots of trees. Picture yourself in this place, and it's raining. What do you hear? What does it smell like? How does the rain feel? How do you feel? Now imagine you're in a place where there aren't that many trees. And there's more pavement, sidewalks, and roads. And it's raining here too. What does the rain sound like here? What does it smell like? What does the rain feel like? Let's come back together. What differences did you notice between the space that had less trees compared to the space that had more? Some things you may have noticed when you're surrounded by trees is that the rain sounded more soft as it hit the leaves or the grass on the ground. Maybe you heard some birds or felt feelings of calm. And when you were in a place where there's less trees, like in the city, it might have been more loud as the rain hit the concrete, the cars zooming by, splashing through puddles, and the rain hitting the roofs of the buildings. So there are 3 important words that we're going to be using throughout our program, our 3 times together, and they are stormwater, pervious, and impervious. And I'll tell you what these words mean in just a little bit, but I would like to use a model to help introduce us to these words. Can you think of a time that you have used a model? Models help us understand something about the world on a smaller scale, and they're not always perfect. We can use many different kinds of things to represent other things that we see in real life. So for my model today, I am going to use this jar of water to represent stormwater. Stormwater is water from rain or snow. Sometimes Stormwater lands on a pervious surface like this one. I'm going to be using this towel to represent a pervious surface. What do you predict will happen when it rains on this surface? Great. So I am going to use my rain cloud to rain on this pervious surface and make some observations about what you notice. So I notice that the water soaked in very quickly. And if I lift up this towel, I'll notice that some water came out on the other side and onto this plate. So a pervious surface is one that allows water to soak through, like grass and soil. These surfaces help to slow down water. Stormwater also lands on impervious surfaces like this one. What do you predict will happen when it rains on this surface? So I'm going to take my rain cloud again and I'm going to rain down on this impervious surface. What do you notice? So I noticed that the water, the storm water, when it hit the surface, it's just sitting here, making a big puddle. If this impervious surface was on a hill, this water would move very quickly down the hill towards a pervious surface where it could be caught or soaked through, or maybe it would hit a drain where it would go into the pipes and be moved somewhere else. Impervious surfaces are ones that do not allow water to soak through, like concrete and roofs. These surfaces can move water really fast. Another way to help us remember these two words, pervious and impervious, is to use body motions to go with each word. Here are some that I like to use to help me remember. So for pervious, or surfaces where the water can soak through, I might use my body to go like this to represent the water flowing through the pervious surface like grass or soil. So this could be for pervious. For impervious, on the other hand, where the water cannot soak through, I might do something like this, where the water cannot soak through. Or another could be the water coming down and then flowing off of the surface, like so, where it hits the ground and flows off. Can you think of some other body motions that you can use to help you remember these two words? You could even have your own stormwater dance party with all of the different moves that you come up with to represent these two words. Now that we've learned a few new words, let's think about what happens when it rains where you live. For this next activity, you'll need a piece of paper and something to write with. What we're gonna do next is draw a picture of where you live. You are welcome to show just your house, or you can show more of your neighborhood. And here are the things that I would like for you to make sure are in your drawing. Impervious surfaces, like streets, sidewalks, parking lots. Any pervious surfaces that are around, like grass and trees. Are there any drains or gutters, or other things that might help move the water through your neighborhood? And lastly, draw some arrows to show which direction does the water flow when it rains. I'm going to make an example drawing so that you know what are we looking for when you're making this drawing of where you live. So here in this neighborhood, there's 4 buildings. And next to those buildings, there is a sidewalk and a road. I want to make sure to add any impervious surfaces like streets, roads, or sidewalks, so I have those here. Are there any pervious surfaces where you live? So in front of each of these buildings, there's a little bit of grass. So I might draw some grass in here in front of each of the buildings. And you can draw this however you want. There's also some grass here by the road. And a couple of trees next to this building over here. Are there any drains, gutters, or other things that help move the water? Well, in this neighborhood, there's 3 storm drains. There's one here on the road. There's one here in the parking lot. And there's one here on this side. There's also some gutters, so there's 4 gutters that come off of each of the buildings, so I want to add those in there as well. And then lastly, I'll want to draw some arrows to show when it rains, where does the water go? So the rain hits the roofs and comes out of the gutters on the ground. So I'll draw some arrows showing the water coming out of the gutters. And then I'll show where do they go from there. So in this neighborhood, the water comes out of the gutters and starts to head towards the storm drains. So I want to show that on my drawing, that they're heading towards the storm drains. So what you can do now is go ahead and pause this video and make a drawing of what happens where you live when it rains. Water is important to our lives, and we get a lot of it here in the Northwest, and the plants and animals need it too. What's one thing that you like about the rain? What's something from your drawing that needs the rain? Have you ever seen evidence of pollution or flooding before? Or maybe you've seen some of these signs showing that the beach is closed or you can't go fishing. In our next lessons together, we'll be spending some time thinking about how stormwater can affect other living things in our neighborhoods and how people can solve some of these stormwater problems. Don't forget, save your drawings. We'll be coming back to these throughout the lessons as we start to learn more about stormwater and adding to them as we go along. Before the next lesson, be sure to watch the When It Rains, It Pours video that's linked below in the description box. See you next time!